Well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, this court situation still lingers on, and the government of the Republic of Zambia and the Lungu family continue the battle in court. So, as you may be aware, earlier on during the weekend, there was some light that was showing between the negotiations, that is between government and the Lungu family, where the other week the government of the Republic of Zambia actually announced to say no person is supposed to make any announcement or pretty much report on the matter, especially from the ruling party, the UPND, and also from government officials or ministries. The only person that is the jurisdiction to give announcements or make comments with regard to what's going on with the battle between the Lungu family and the Zambian government with regard to his burial place has to be Secretary to the Cabinet, that is Mr. Patrick Chagwa. What is the Lungu family also reiterated the same point, simply stating no party from the Patriotic Front or anyone that sympathizes with the Lungu family and part of the opposition should make any statement with regard to what has been going on in court. Only Makebi Zulu is expected to make a statement on behalf of the family and with regard to the side of the family. And just yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, just a couple of hours ago, a joint statement was released, signed by the Secretary to the Cabinet, Mr. Patrick Chagwa, and also Makebi Zulu on behalf of the family, simply saying the talks that the Zambian government and the Lungu family are having in South Africa have become formal and they are working around the mechanisms for them to have the issue resolved. So it was looking like when they stepped into court today, most of the people were expecting to say, okay, all parties seem to be agreeing on the general things. So it was just going to be formality for the parties to go and inform the courts to say they have decided to settle the matter outside court and they've come to a resolution. But unfortunately, that wasn't to be today. What turned out to be in court today was a serious court battle, pretty much a legal battle that ensued. And a number of people were shocked to say, wait a second, after all that hype to say there is light at the end of the tunnel in the past couple of days, this is what it has turned out to. So when they went in court today, it was a legal battle. It was nothing fun or anything to say there wasn't any sign to show there were negotiations taking part in the background. And this is what played out in court, and people are weighing in on the matter as things stand. So Mao Sampa put up his thought just a couple of hours ago. He says, as long as the nation, we do not get to a position where Edgar Chagwa is buried peacefully and amicably, ifingi tafyakalaenda wino. Per home ground World Cup results, Zambia 0, Morocco 2. So it's simply referring to say that the fact that Edgar Chagwa wasn't been put to rest, a number of things will not be going well in the nation. How can we be beaten 2-0 by Morocco in the World Cup qualifier match that was taking place just a couple of hours ago, if not a couple of minutes ago? And then Nipano Tudi, it's your fault. It's not your fault, boys. It's spiritual. That's Mao Sampa Matero, member of parliament, there weighing in to say even our loss in football can be attributed to the lack of buying Edgar Chagwa, be it in South Africa or in Zambia, as he says. Chief Etari also weighed in and is calling the Lungu family lawyer as the black smoke or the black Jesus for some reason. So he says it's black smoke from the negotiations. So reiterating the same point to say most of the people are optimistic to say the negotiations that were taking place will yield results, but it creates black smoke. And as Black Jesus has started arguing his case for the matter to be approved, a very sad situation. So he reacted to that to say, because they're expecting the family lawyer to step up on the podium and pretty much say, okay, there's been a resolution, the two parties have come to an agreement, but he stepped up and it was a fight. And then the government's lawyer also put up a fight, pretty much made arguments to ascertain to the fact that Edgar Chagwa is supposed to be buried in Zambia, considering his stature as a former head of state. And counter arguments were presented, and that's where Chief Tayari was weighing in. And then he said, Lungu Bio case drags on as court case reserves ruling. The Pretoria High Court has held back its decision on the appeal by the family of the late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu there. And then some of the highlights from the court hearing. A number of things happened in this court hearing. Let me play you some of the extract that I came across as the Lungu family lawyer was making his presentation in court, right in response to the Zambian government's lawyer. There, it was a heated battle. It wasn't anything to watch and be optimistic to say that any negotiations are taking place. Stand by.
That is inconsistent with South African law. You have to enter into a contract that is recognized in South African law. And you can't have a foreign state that demands the application of foreign law in a South African court, because that denudes the South African Constitution of its autonomy within its territory. And Zambian law, there was nothing here that suggested that Zambian law is extraterritorial in its application. Zambian law is not extraterritorial. It applies in Zambia, not here. This point, this is now the third part, I'm going to close the discussion on the contract, is dealt with in the judgment of East Asian Consortium versus MTN. This question about Lex Loki. It's reported recently in 2025, volume 5.
So you could hear from the argument coming from the family lawyer there, simply saying the Zambian law is not extraterritorial in the matter of Edgar Chagwa Lungu's repatriation, simply stating any arguments that the Zambian government or the Zambian government's lawyer was putting across to say, no, there are certain traditions and protocols that have been observed following the other heads of state that have died. You're simply saying, yeah, if it is in Zambia, that's a different situation. But the fact that this court case is happening in South Africa, meaning the constitution that is supposed to be followed is the South African constitution, and as opposed to the Zambian constitution. So you can easily tell where the Lungu family lawyer is trying to take this fight. He's pretty much still trying to take it to the constitutional court. It seems to be like he thrives in the constitutional court, and maybe that's where he's very competent, it looks like. So he's trying, by all means, if the appeal case, is granted to the Lungu family, it's just a matter of time. It will run through the South African judicial system. It goes to the Supreme Court, and then obviously eventually it ends up in the Constitutional Court of South Africa. And when it gets there, his argument is simply saying we're not arguing to say what Zambia follows in this case. We're arguing what the South African Constitution says. And that's his fight. So that's how he rebutted to the Zambian government's lawyer as they were interacting. Let me play another clip from the court hearing where you'll be able to see some of the highlights of what played out in court today. It was a very heated argument. Stand by as I play you one more clip from court as the lawyers were making their arguments earlier on.
Mr. Lungu died whilst the benefits had been removed. You cannot reinstate benefits on a corpse. The legal position is preserved as at the time of death. The legal position as at the time of death is that Mr. Lungu had lost his presidential benefits. So those could not be...
About his right to be buried, but he lost that. He is not as God.
No, he lost the benefits that came with being the president of the country.
The protection, the office staff?
Yes, all of those.
But the right to be buried and every attendant benefit that flows from passing on as a former head of state?
No, he has a right to be buried, but the corpse doesn't have any rights. The wife has a right to bury the deceased, but the wife has made that decision. The widow has made that decision. What you cannot have, and this is the oddity of the argument by the Zambian government, if the rights and benefits, because the corpse has no rights, So you cannot say a corpse has a right to be buried. A corpse has no right. A corpse is not a legal thing. So if the benefits are removed, those benefits are removed on a living thing, on a living organ.
So that's another argument that the family lawyers put across. I'm pretty sure you've listened to his argument there, and you can make your own judgment. Obviously, Chufetayari weighed in. He says Black Jesus has no good reasons for his for this case to go to the higher. To go to the higher case. This case is lost. So whatever he's saying, they are simply saying, in as much as he's making those arguments, it's a lost cause. And then Smart Eagles reports to say, we can't accept such reasoning. That is why we have a constitution, he argues to say, that tells the Zambian, tells the lawyer in court. So simply saying, let's base our arguments based on the South African Constitutional Court laws, and as opposed to opinions and feelings of people. And then the United Party for National Development, UPND, put up a call after pretty much the proceedings from court. They say, Pretoria High Court reserves judgment in Lungu Bio appeal case. The South African High Court in Pretoria has reserved judgment in a matter where the family of former President Edgar Lungu has appealed for leave to appeal the judgment on the burial of the 60th president. This was after the submissions from lawyers representing the family and government. The family of the late president is seeking an appeal in the judgment by the High Court, which ruled that the government of Zambia has the right to repatriate the body of former president for the state funeral and burial at Embassy Park in Lusaka. So that's where the argument is. If they are granted an appeal, then obviously this thing is going to run through all the court situations in South Africa, and eventually to get to the Constitutional Court. And it seems like that's where the Lungu family is more inclined to take this court hearing. So pretty much meaning, if they are granted the appeal now, when they get to they lose again, they will appeal until the Constitutional Court, and let's see how that plays out. And then justice is not about upholding the law. I mean, justice is about upholding the law, not bending to external pressure. A powerful reminder from the lawyer there. So, obviously, Smart Eagles having a point of view there. Why should a foreign government demand another sovereign country to abandon its own laws to use foreign law? Lungu family lawyer questions. So as you heard in that earlier presentation when he was making his argument, so simply saying, let's not argue based on what Zambia follows in terms of the predecessor presidents or the late presidents that has been buried before. Let's follow the fact that this court case is happening in South African court, and what should be followed is South African law, and that's where he's standing in this case. You cannot reinstate benefits on corpse. A corpse has no rights. Lungu family lawyer, you heard it there, is simply saying the rights of Edgar Lungu now passed on to his immediate family, now next of kin, and in this case, that is former First Lady Esther Lungu and children. Tesila Lungu, Dadiso, and is it Chies or the lawyer? On the other hand, within the Patriotic Front, Chief Etayari weighs in. He says tips for 2026 elections. None of these leaders, referring to the people that you see on screen there, you see Raphael Nakachinda, Mao Sampa, and then Given Winda on the far right there. He says none of these leaders can call for a convention, or pretty much as you've heard, the Patriotic Front has announced to say they'll go for a convention right after Edgar Lungu is put to rest or is buried, and they will immediately call for a convention. So Chief Etayari is arguing to say none of those people are able to call a convention that is going to hold any water. Convention or give adoption certificates to contest elections under the Patriotic Front PF, simply saying the party has moved on to Chabinga as things stand legally. In as much as the Patriotic Front that is led by Given Winda that is arguing to say that convention that Mao Sampa had called for is illegal, and Mao Sampa has also argued to say yes, he agrees with Given Winda and this team to say yes, his convention was illegal by themselves. The only way forward is to shift everything or to another party, preferably NCP, since they even have a member of parliament. If you remember, should be either JJ Banda's by-election in Petauke, where Patriotic Front pretty much, or the Tonse Alliance, won through the endorsed candidate who was under the party NCP. So Chifatai is simply saying, okay, if PF cannot be utilized by the people that want to go run into elections, let them use that same party that they had used, that is part of the Tonse Alliance, and probably maybe they might decide to pick Givenwind as the leader. Let's wait and see how that plays out. But it's so dependent on what the verdict will come from the court situation, that the battle that is between Chavinga and this version of the PF. And then obviously Watchdog was pushing a propaganda there, which was rebutted by Patriotic Front, where they're saying Edgar Lungu told me, whoever he told, that he did not want Luinda, Munduwile, KBF, Nkanduluo, and any such person to be 2026 presidential candidate. He was looking for a person. He was looking at people like me, claims Shishua. So they are alleging to say Shishua is also putting his heart in the game to be picked as a presidential candidate under the Patriotic Front, to which the Patriotic Front has rebutted to say that's just propaganda being pushed by that page there, Zambian Watchdog. And yeah, so that's the situation. The battle lingers on, and the new court verdict is coming on the 15th of September, as announced by the courts, to say they will decide whether Edgar Lungu. No, they will decide on whether the appeal application that has been submitted by the Lungu family is going to go further or is going to be thrown out. And if it's thrown out, I'm pretty sure the Zambian government has put in place the protocols that are required. And if the body is given back to the Zambian government, again, I'm pretty sure it's going to be flown into Zambia immediately, so that they don't have this drama going on. But then again, if the Lungu family wins the appeal, meaning this court battle lingers on, it goes to the Supreme Court, and if they lose again, they've got room to appeal to another court, which is the Constitutional Court. So you can see just the durations that are moving, the timestamps. If this thing moves on, it might stay in the Supreme Court until the year ends, and then the battle for the Constitutional Court might run first quarter of 2026, and that's election year. And probably that's the agenda that they are pushing here. Let's wait and see how that plays out. Then Shifetayari says 2026 elections tips. It's better to contest under a political party, but that isn't your starting point. Go background, eat and drink with electorates. But don't forget the public lawyer simply offering his consultancy if you want to contest elections. It seems like he wants to survive off that, his consultancy, as he alleges. The mass newspaper carries a headline saying, "The days are numbered. United Party for National Development, UPND, can celebrate now, but their fate is near," says Essential. So that's an individual weighing in to say, in as much as the UPND are celebrating, 2026 is around the corner. Obviously, each side is offering their opinions in this case. Ex-ZAMSA DG joins the Patriotic Front, so it seems like the Director General of ZAMSA has joined the Patriotic Front. I don't know which version of the Patriotic Front that is. Is it Chavinga's version or the one that is led by Given Luinda? We're yet to find out. Daily Mail says, avoid borrowing to please women. Catholic Church advises men to live within their means. And then Home Affairs PS in Land Rango. And then 2021 voters cards still valid. That's the Electoral Commission of Zambia. That's according to the news diggers. And that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. So the battle continues with regard to, is Edgar Lungu coming back to Zambia to be buried, or he will be buried in South Africa? Let's wait and see how it plays out. But a number of people are disappointed. That's a fact. People are very hopeful to say those negotiations were going to yield something, but nothing has come of it.